you want to take your time out, you've got to hone in on that skill set of hiring, delegating, and managing. And so it starts here, right? Welcome to Profit and Prosper, a podcast for entrepreneurs who are ready to make some money while doing what they love. On this podcast, we're going to pull back the curtain and talk about all things business and money. But I promise you, this is not your typical boring numbers talk. I'm your host, Sarah Young, a CPA and CFO with over a decade of experience in finance, business, and leadership. I'm going to share everything I've learned from helping my clients grow more profitable businesses and keep more of what they earn while growing my own successful business along the way. You'll feel empowered and confident that you too can grow your wealth, live a rich life, and have an impact. Stick with me and you might even start to think that finance is fun. Let's dive in. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to episode 53 of the Profit and Prosper podcast. Today, we are wrapping up the fourth part of the series that I've been doing about the elements of a profitable business. So if you're just listening to this episode, I highly recommend that you go back to episode 50, where the series started. So far, we've talked about profitable offers and how that helps you get through what I think is the first stage of business, consistent cash flow. Then we talked about profitable systems and processes that help you stabilize and protect and de-risk your business. So I think that's stage 2 of business, business maturity as I see clients go through that. Then we talked about profitable investments, which helps you get through the third stage, which I think is growth, growing your business to whatever your ideal level is. And today is profitable teams. And profitable teams, I think, is really the capstone of everything that we've talked about. And the reason I think it's the capstone is you can have a great team. You can have great team members, but if you don't have profitable offers or profitable systems, or if you've invested in the wrong things, your team is not going to be profitable, and it's not their fault. It's all these other underlying factors that are causing them to not be profitable. I've said this in at least one of the previous episodes, but I really view business as being a system of inputs that create outputs. So you take inputs of time or money, your time or money, and you put them into your business, and they go through your systems and your processes, and out comes as an output, hopefully, money. Profit. So when we think about the inputs of time or money, when you start your business, unless you are a startup with tons of funding, which I'm betting that basically none of you listening to this podcast are, your inputs are primarily going to be time, your time as the business owner. And as you grow your business, as you're in business for several years, a few years, I think that everybody's going to get to a place where either you are tired of having your time be an input into the business, meaning you're tired of your business relying on your direct time, being there doing everything day in and day out, or both, or it could be both of these. Your business scales or grows to a point where you cannot physically touch everything in your business anymore. It's just too big. So I think that's why the Profitable Teams episode, this is the capstone of all the rest, because when you want to start shifting those inputs from being heavily focused on your time to being more focused on money, that is going to, in part, come from having a team. So when I outlined this episode, I had so many things. I wrote down so many things in this outline that I want to talk about as it relates to profitable teams, because I've personally been through a lot. I've been in, the corporate world. I started at Deloitte. I was a senior accountant there before I left. So I was managing, a small team, up to being the senior director of accounting, reporting directly to the controller of a multi-billion-dollar business with a team of anywhere from 20 to 25 reporting to me. And then in my business, I now have a team of 4 operational employees or team members. And we're about to hire in the next couple of weeks, a couple more of operational team members. And then I've got 3 different contractors that help me with various other things related to back end or marketing. And so I'm also going to tell you, like, from my experience doing all of this, and then also just being the CFO for businesses making, high 6, 7. Some of our biggest clients are right around 10 million in revenue. What I see from them and how their teams are profitable or not. So I have so many things I want to say about this. So in this episode, I am going to try to focus on some of the really crucial things that I see people missing when you are growing your team that really do impact your bottom line. And I will put it on my calendar later to maybe do another series on all the different elements of teams that I have in this outline that I did, because I just can't get through it all today. The crucial elements of having a team that are profitable are, high level, hiring the right people in the right roles. And I actually think I got that phrase from the EOS book, so the Entrepreneurial Operating System books, written by Gino Wickman. And the book, the first one is called Traction. I'm pretty sure he says that. I should have looked it up before this. I'm pretty sure he says you have to have the right people in the right roles. And that is so, so accurate. So you have to have the right people in the right roles. And I think that they need to be doing what they're supposed to be doing, meaning, they're doing what you need them to do. They're keeping your systems and processes going. They are doing things up to your quality standards, right? Making sure that you don't have to be there doing every single thing in your business. And I think that piece comes down not to just like profitable offers and profitable systems that we've talked about, but also on your ability as a CEO to lead and manage your team. And so I think that comes down to training and retention and some things that I see a lot of people get stuck on, because I think being a leader is something that is a skill that we have to learn. And sometimes like we don't all have leadership experience, in our past lives before we come and start our business where we are the leader. Like it or not, we are leaders. So first, let's talk about how to hire the right people for the right roles and how much you can afford. When it comes to hiring the right role, something that I think is really helpful, and this is something that I do too in my business, is write down, draw out an org chart. And note that this can change over time, but I think it's really helpful to think about your ideal state business. If you could take what you have now and put it into sort of an ideal state, what different departments and roles would you have in your business? So high level, I think you're going to have departments that are, your operations. So delivering your product or service, that one's obviously crucial. Then you're going to have a sales and marketing department. So that piece is obviously really important. And you're probably going to fill most of those roles as you grow your business until you're able to outsource some of that. And then you also have the back office, administrative, and finance function. Thinking about your departments in those three areas, what are the activities and roles that you are doing in each area? And then if you could draw out an org chart, what are the ideal roles that you would have there? And I think that you need to think about not just I'll take marketing, for example. When you're thinking about your marketing department, it's not just a marketing person, a marketing team member. I think people make this mistake a lot. I've seen clients who hire quote unquote marketing managers in their business and expect them to do social media strategy and content creation, and managing all of their various channels, and email marketing and branding and every piece of marketing. I think you can see all the different marketing people that are out there, to support business owners. There's so many different areas of marketing. We can't just lump it all into one place. So I'm using this as an example. You're going to have to think about within marketing, what are the different channels of marketing that you have and what are the different roles that people could potentially have? And also ask yourself, do you have room, or in your team structure, do you need to have somebody who is focused on the high level strategy and then also the tactician? And so what I mean by that is this is something I think people mix up all the time. So as we're hiring team members, you have to remember that you as a business owner are a unicorn, meaning you are capable of doing so many different things, so many different levels of tasks and job responsibilities. Not everybody out there, most people out there in the world are not that way, or they don't want to have to be focusing on doing different things all the time. So we think about roles. I think you've got to ask yourself if you need a tactician, meaning somebody to go and execute on the plan, on the task that you have laid out for them, versus a strategist is somebody more high level who is going to be able to put that strategy, put that plan together. And they're not the same people. And so I see this is one mistake I see is people, business owners hiring somebody who has the skill set of a tactician, expecting them to be able to pull off the strategy and to be able to make those high level decisions. When in reality, this person just needs to execute on whatever you, as you know, you're filling that role of the strategist, they need to be able to execute on those things. So as you're doing your org chart, please don't forget in every area, not just in marketing, but in operations, in your back office, in your finance team, right? Your CFO is not the same as your bookkeeper. So as you lay out this org chart, then the next step would be put people's names in each of the roles. Even if your name is in every single role for right now, that's totally fine. But who is responsible for doing these different areas? And then start asking yourself, I've seen this happen with clients where they have people who they put their name, like team members' names, in multiple different spots across their org chart, from marketing to operations to back office. And again, I'm asking them, like, what is this person really here to do? Like, what is their skill set? Let's make sure that you're not spreading them too thin and just asking them to do all these variety of things just because they're there and they can, right? It may be more profitable for you. It's probably going to be more profitable for you to have the person hone in on really what is the right role for them. Are you ready to create a profitable business and use that cash flow as a fire starter for building your wealth? Since you're listening to my podcast, I'm guessing that you probably do, but maybe you aren't sure exactly how this would work for your business or if it's even possible for you. But listen, I am here to tell you that it is possible because I have worked with so many women business owners who have done exactly that. You can pay yourself a six-figure CEO salary and get yourself out of the feast or famine cycle where you're worrying about cash flow all the time. You can create a profitable business model that allows you to outsource and delegate so you can take time off from your business while still growing to the next level. And you can use that cash flow to start building a seven-figure portfolio of retirement, real estate, or whatever else you're interested in. If you're an established online or service-based business owner who'd like some hands-on CFO support to increase your profit margins, build your business to the next level, and grow your net worth using that extra cash flow, then the Millionaire CEO Incubator is exactly for you. The Millionaire CEO Incubator is my signature 6-month group coaching and done-with-you hybrid program to help you map out and implement a plan to turn six-figure cash flow into seven-figure wealth. We take on a handful of new clients each month by application. So if you're ready to change your money story, go to profitandprosper.co/apply or the link in the show notes and fill out the quick application. It should take no more than 2 minutes and we'll be in touch. Now let's get back to the episode. Writing down these roles, right? Putting people's names in them, and then asking yourself, what is the right role for me to hire next? A lot of times, as you're making your first 1 or 2 hires, in my opinion, I think it is more beneficial to focus on the administrative team members, the tacticians, than the high-level strategists. Just know that when you hire administrative people, tacticians, you are going to have to manage them. You are going to have to make sure that they're doing what you're asking them to do. Like you're taking some of the things off your plate that they're going to handle, but then you're going to need to add stuff onto your plate, add tasks of managing them and giving them instructions, providing them feedback. Like you can't, you're going to outsource some things, but then you're going to have to also make sure that you're managing them. And this I see also throws people off too, because they're like, well, if I can do this, administrative stuff in 5 hours a week, 10 hours a week, if I hand it off, they're going to take longer than me, and I have to manage them, and I have to train them. They're not going to automatically do it as well as I could do it or as fast as I could do it. Therefore, I'm just going to keep doing it. And this is absolutely not the mindset that you need to have if you want to be able to grow your business and take yourself out. Remember, we talked about the inputs of time and money. If you want to take your time out, you've got to hone in on that skill set of hiring, delegating, and managing. And so it starts here, right? It doesn't matter if it takes them longer It doesn't matter if they can't do it perfectly exactly as well as you, as long as it works, as long as it's good enough, and as long as you can train them so that they can get better over time, that's really the point, okay? So who to hire? I think generally speaking, you want to start probably with some of the administrative team members because you're going to get the best ROI off of hiring them because they will cost less and they will take some of those, lower value tasks off of your plate so that you can then go focus on some of the bigger, higher value tasks. Being the CEO, focusing on the things I really think the CEO need to focus on, which would be making sales and guiding the strategy of your business, right? So you're going to get a good ROI off of, hiring administrative team members first, in my opinion. But after you have a couple of administrative team members, you are very likely going to need to hire somebody higher level to manage those team members. Because like I said, you're going to hire the administrative team members. They're going to take those tasks off your plate, but you are then going to have more tasks added for managing them, right? And so then that's going to begin to take up a lot of your time. I've experienced this too. And so in my experience, once you get to maybe 3 team members, depending on how much they're working, right? If you've got 2 full-time team members, that's a lot of, tasks to manage. So you may want to hire a higher level team member faster, but you're going to need to hire somebody who is that strategist who can begin to manage those team members for you. So in my business, I have let go of at least 3 people who weren't a good fit. But I've kept, how many people did I say? We've got 7 total. And so all in all, I've found that the people that I had to let go of, it was more my fault than theirs. And I had to learn quickly how to hire people who were a better fit for the roles that I needed. So one of the things I found to be the most beneficial was when I was hiring, being very, very clear, almost a little bit over the top of what is my vision? What is my mission? What does my company do? What type of clients do we work with? Like making sure that people get the vibe of what we do here. Because when you think about accounting, I think there's a lot of accountants out there. The bar is set very low for a lot of CPAs out there, but not for me. Like I try to set the bar very high for the services that we provide. And that's really what my business model is based off of. And so when I hire team members, I can't just hire the accountant who wants to go work somewhere where they're going to be checking the box all day. Like that's not the role I want. And so I've found that I have been able to hire much more aligned team members since I got clearer about putting those things into my job description. Really like, what is my mission here? And then also putting in very clearly, these are the job duties that you're going to be doing. And so something I do, so for example, I'm going to be hiring a tax CPA here soon, a tax strategist to handle sort of our high level tax planning and review and helping us with all things tax for all of our clients. And this is not somebody preparing. This is somebody who's really taking that, review role off of my plates to an extent. What I have been doing is I'll have a Google Doc where literally every day as I'm doing the things that I want this person to be doing, I write them down in a Google Doc so that when I go to review and put together the job description, I have the duties there very clearly listed out of this is exactly what I need. Being clear about what you need and, the vibe of your business, your mission and vision and values, I think helps you to bring in people who are aligned with those values, but then also who are very clear about this is what I'm going to be doing and this is in alignment with what I want to do for my job. And one other tip on hiring a tactician, a more administrative level employee, what I do every time I hire one of these is I include in the job application instructions more specific instructions for them to follow, meaning in the job description or in the bottom of the posting, I will say, if you're interested, don't just apply on Indeed or LinkedIn or wherever. Please send me an email to this address with this subject line, including these things in the body. Send me these attachments. Like I give them a checklist of things to do for that type of role because that's their job is going to be to execute on the process that I have defined. This is their first test, right? Of can you follow these instructions? Because if they can't follow the instructions, then I'm not even going to bother taking them to an interview. The next thing that I do is actually put together a more detailed application form. And I've done it where I ask everybody applying to do the application form. I actually more recently didn't. I just sent it to the people who I really wanted to, consider further. Also, almost as a replacement for a job screening, but just asking them more open-ended questions about, tell me about your experience here, tell me about where you see yourself, what kind of things you want to up-level in your skill set, like making sure they're aligned from that perspective. So those couple of things have really helped me to narrow down the field of candidates when I'm hiring, to make sure that when I'm hiring team members, that when I'm even interviewing the handful of people that I interview, that they are, a good fit for the role. So let's talk quickly about how much can you afford when you are hiring this person, because this is one where people ask me this question all the time. I think we have to think about it in terms of what type of team member are you hiring. If you're hiring an ops team member, then what I want you to do to ask yourself, how much can I afford, is I want you to think about your offer structure. So back to the profitable offers lesson, or not lesson, because it's not a lesson, it's a podcast. Anyways, back to episode 50. On profitable offers, I talked about how to figure out if your offer is profitable. So you have to factor this cost of this team member into your offer and make sure the offer is profitable, even if you are paying someone else to do the thing. So how much you can afford is how much you put into your offer model. And it's probably pretty related, hopefully, to what the market rates are going to be for this type of role. So make sure that's factored into your profitable offer model, and that helps you figure out how much you can pay somebody. If you have a back office team member, so like a VA, a marketing admin, or something like that, you need to really think about how much can I afford in just general overhead expenses. So this might be anywhere from 30 to 50% of your revenue is what you quote unquote should probably be spending on overhead expenses. So if you have a business generating $100,000 in revenue, then you're probably going to have a budget of about $30,000 a year, or 30%, to go to overhead. And so within that $30,000, factoring in all the things that you have to pay for, software, office equipment, supplies, things like that, your budget for marketing team members, for finance team members, needs to come out of that overhead budget. And so what can you afford within that budget, right? And there's in some cases you might realize, hey, I don't have a ton of room. And so that tells me we need to go back to your profitable offers and make sure the offers themselves are generating enough in terms of revenue to be able to afford enough in overhead expenses. When it comes to payroll, y'all, I tend to pay people on the high side of the range. At least I really try to. Because I would rather pay 10% or 20% more to one of my team members and have an amazing top tier employee than pay somebody, try to be a cheapskate and pay somebody below market or right at market. And I'm going to get, people who are not what I would consider to be A team members. So I personally would rather pay more. And I think that 10, 20% increase in pay is going to return you so much more in terms of ROI, because when you have those amazing aligned employees, they provide so much more value to your business, okay? The last thing I want to talk about is training and retention. And so this is outside of quote unquote finance, but it's just things that I keep seeing come up with clients as their teams grow. So I think when it comes to training, you have to realize, I don't think that we appropriately estimate how much time it is going to take to train a team member. That could come down to, for example, I, a couple of months ago, hired a tax contractor, somebody to help me prepare returns. And as part of the training process, I had to spend a crap ton of time documenting every single thing that I did around taxes, and then training her, providing feedback to her as I'm hey, do these 5 tasks this week and then report back to me when you're done and I will review. The time that it takes to do that it's a heavy investment. So I think we have to make sure though, because if you don't take the time to train people, if you don't clearly communicate your expectations, probably more specifically than you think you need to be, I can't just tell my team member, hey, I want you to prepare returns this week. I have to say, hey, I want you to prepare these specific returns for these clients. Here's the nuances around them. Like, you have to be pretty specific because you can't just assume that people know, especially when they're new. So you have to set aside time for that. And I think this is also really important for not just them being happy and being like sticking around. Obviously, like the cost of training is high when you think about the time that you put into it or that your other team members put into training. You want to retain them, right? So I think having that up front, like here's the expectations and making sure it's aligned with what you put in the job description will help them not just retain them, but also make sure that they are doing work up to the standards that you have. So for me, when I think about, quality control, that is the thing that is currently keeping me up at night is just how do I make sure as my team grows that we maintain really high standards? And it comes down to me and my, higher level team members, like training and setting clear expectations and being leaders. I see a lot of clients do this and I do this too, where team members will submit work. And because I'm trying to review it quickly or because I want to get it out the door quickly, I will fix whatever needs to be fixed and just send it on the way, right? I don't take the time to provide feedback to them. When I do that, I am setting myself up for failure because then that team member doesn't know, hey, I need to focus on these things the next time around. So you really have to make sure like this part is an ongoing piece of having a team. So not just in the first training, but like constantly having systems set up to be able to provide review of their work and to give them feedback. I think having that transparency and communication is absolutely crucial. Also on retention. So retaining people is really important because one, when you find a good employee, you obviously want to keep them. The investment that you're going to make into training is going to be high. And so if we can retain employees, that's really important. And so the things I think we need to focus on to retain employees, in addition to paying them fairly, I think that goes without saying. I think that you as a CEO have to be cognizant of the fact that the way that you show up, you are setting the tone for your whole team. And so something that I struggle with is when I leave my office before my team members are done working for the day. So I have one who works here in my office most days with me, other ones that I see online. And this is an internal sort of struggle I have with guilt of, oh, if I leave earlier than them, are they working harder than me? Are they mad that I'm leaving earlier? But I have to keep telling myself, like when I hired them, I said, I don't want us to be the traditional accounting firm that works 80 hours a week. And so to make sure we're constantly combating that, because my team members are coming from accounting departments or accounting firms that they do that. And they're sort of like conditioned to think that way of like, we just have to work all the time. So I have to set the tone by not overworking in order to do that for my team. That's really important, is making sure like you as a CEO are showing up as a good leader. Then one, I already said paying them fairly. We know this. This should go without saying, right? I think also making sure that what they're doing is in line with the job description that they signed up for. So not doing the bait and switch. Or if you do want them to do other things outside of the job description, like have that communication early and often. Don't just throw things on their plate because they're going to start to get irritated. And you have to understand, like people are working for you and you are their payroll, like you're providing their paycheck, right? You need to have some stability, right? They want to feel like they know what to expect and they're not going to have a surprise every time they walk in the door. That's not the recipe for having a team that you retain. Again, I think it just goes back to leadership, open communication. On to benefits and incentives. This is one where a lot of people tell me they don't want to hire team members because then they feel like they have to add on benefits and incentives. You don't always have to have benefits, especially not for part-time team members. But I do think that a well-designed benefit plan, meaning thinking about, do I want to offer healthcare? Do I want to offer 401k matches? Do I want to have these things that they could go get at any big corporation out there if they went to choose to go work there, right? Could that help you to retain the high value employees that you really want to keep? The answer is yes, right? People want to have the stability when they go to work. And I think having those benefits as an option is really crucial. And so this is absolutely not something that must be done when you're hiring your first team members. But I think as you grow, especially as you get people who are more full-time, we want to start factoring this into a budget and know that having that in there, yes, it's an increased cost, but it's usually not as cumbersome, as burdensome as people think. Like if I have a full-time team member who I pay $75,000 a year, her benefits costs are probably going to be anywhere from 5 to 10% of her salary. So another $7,500 a year. And so like that's not nothing, but when I think about the revenue that allows me to generate by having that team member, when I think about the ROI I get from having someone who's really invested in being here, it's absolutely worth it. The other piece is incentives, so bonus structures. This is something we work with a lot with our CFO clients who have like more established teams coming in, is putting bonus structures into place that align your team members' interests with yours. Thinking about layering in, especially for those crucial team members, are there ways that you can incentivize them and say, hey, if we execute on these goals that we have this year, you are going to get an extra, 5% of your salary as a bonus or 10% of your salary, however much you think is fair. Thinking about those things will help you to retain your really great employees. And so I think that don't feel overwhelmed by these. I think this is an area where, if you do feel overwhelmed by it as your team grows, reach out and get support from someone who can help you, either a CFO to help you think through the financial side or an HR strategist, an HR partner who can come in and do a consult for you or something just to make sure it's well designed. Because I think retaining these key team members is so important to having teams that are profitable. All right, y'all. So we have talked about so many things related to teams, and I could go into so much more detail on any of these areas, but just to sort of revisit the things that I think are the most crucial to having a profitable team. One, profitable offers, systems, and making the right investments to grow your business. Those are the foundational pieces. Your team will not be successful if those other pieces are not in place. When you're going to hire your team, making sure you're hiring the right people for your business and putting them into the right roles. Making sure you're clear on what level of person you need and that you are following through as the leader of your team to help them be successful, right? Thinking through how much you can afford and paying people fairly. I didn't even go into the trend that I've seen in the last year or so around people hiring VAs or whoever, in the Philippines for $2 an hour. I am pretty against like paying people less than, what I would call a fair wage and taking advantage of people who are in countries who, they don't quote unquote need the full minimum wage here. So when we work with clients, like we work with helping them pay people a fair market wage for what we would expect to pay in the United States. I don't care where they are. That's really important to me, but I won't go down that rabbit hole because I feel like I could. Anyways, following through, being a leader of your team and your business by training people, clearly communicating what you want them to do, how you want them to do it, and then following that up with review and feedback on a consistent basis, not just once a year, but like every week, making sure that you are following through and making sure they're on track or off track so that they know and they can correct quickly if they're off track. Then retention. So making sure in addition to paying people fairly, that you are setting the tone for your business the way that you want to so that they have a stable, secure place to show up and work, making sure that they have benefits and incentives and things that will keep them working with you in the long run because it will cost you so much less to keep your good employees employed and happy than to have to keep hiring new people because your team has a lot of turnover. So that's it for this episode. I want you to go forth and, go listen to the whole Profitable series. If you have not listened to episodes 50 through 52 prior to this one. And then if you are in a place where you really want to figure out how can I make my business more profitable, please reach out to me. This is what we help our clients do, is to think about the high-level strategy of how can you make more money in your business? How can you grow your business profitably? How can you structure your finances to be able to afford a team and keep paying yourself and not, go into the negative after you hire a team? Like, this is what we do day in and day out. So I want you to either apply for the Millionaire CEO Incubator if you are a business that is generating multi-5 to low 6 figures in revenue. That is exactly designed for you to help you grow your team and grow your business to multi-6 figures. If you have a business that is in the high 6-7 figure range, we have some spaces open this year for CFO clients. We're already booking a couple months out. So If you've been thinking about CFO support, go to my website at trustyoungco.com, scroll to the bottom and fill out the quick inquiry form, and we will get that started. All right, so I hope you all have a great week, and I will see you next time. Thanks for listening to this week's episode. Now, I want you to go take some action. What's one thing you can do this week to create more profit in your business? Send me a DM on Instagram at YoungCoCFO and share your action item with me. If you have a question or topic you'd like me to dive into, or if you're feeling empowered about taking charge of your finances, let's continue the conversation. Go to profitandprosper.co to submit a question or topic for me to talk about on the show. And because we all profit and prosper better with friends, please leave me a review on Apple Podcasts, subscribe wherever you listen, and share the episode. Make sure you tag me at YoungCoCFO on Instagram so I can give you some love, and I'll see you in the next episode.